This is the Dinesh D'Sousa podcast.
A stunning survey from the Rasmussen polls has just come out. It's a survey that Trump is actually all over. He, in fact, calls it the biggest story of the year, and Republicans must do something about it. And in fact, this is a survey that prompted me to say, it seems about time for me to release 2,000 Mules free for another week on X. And of course, in the past, Rasmussen, in fact, this was right around the time of 2,000 Mules, did a survey that shows that 77% of likely voters who saw that movie said the movie convinced them that there was systematic and widespread fraud in the 2020 election. But look, it's one thing for people to say, I believe there was fraud, the movie has convinced me that there's fraud. It's a whole other thing for people to say, I did fraud myself. And that's what this new survey is about. This is why it's so interesting, because it's a telephone survey of likely voters, and it's a survey that asks people questions about the 2020 election. And this was done by Rasmussen in conjunction with a group called the Heartland Institute. Here's what they find. 21% of likely U.S. voters who voted by absentee or mail-in ballot. The key to this is the absentee ballot. And the key to it is the absentee ballot. Why? Because the absentee ballot is filled out outside of observation. See, when you go in to vote, it's really difficult for, let's say, somebody else to vote for you. They can't do it. You're alone in the booth. It's very difficult for you to do any kind of shenanigans because there are polling officials all around the place, and they won't let you do them. Let's say you were to say to them, hey guys, listen, I have some errands to do. Can I take my ballot and run off with it? I'll come back in an hour, all filled out, and give it right back to you. They'll be like, absolutely not. You got to do it right here and put it in right there. So, and then you have to show your ID. All of that. So all of the shenanigans occur when that observation is removed. 21% of likely voters say that they, in part or in full, filled out a ballot for somebody else, meaning a friend or a family member. This is illegal. And by that I mean, in some states, it is legal to take and deposit a ballot of a family member into a drop box, but they have to fill it out. You can't fill it out for them. You can't sign their name. You can't vote their vote. They have to do it, and you are then permitted, again, only in some states, not all. You're able to then be sort of the courier of the ballot to the drop box. So that is violation number one. But it doesn't end there. 17% of mail-in voters in the 2020 election say they cast a ballot in a state where they are no longer a permanent resident. Illegal. You're not allowed to vote. You can't even vote in a state where you used to live. Why? Because if you move to another state, you are now a permanent resident there. You're supposed to vote in that state. You're a legal voter in that state. So you can't say, oh, my friends are in Georgia, so I just decided to go vote. No, you can't do that. So now these violations are often not caught. They're not prosecuted. This is the failure, the breakdown of our system, if you will. But here it is, in a sense, from the horse's mouth. The cheaters, they're not saying this publicly. They're not saying, hey, I'm so-and-so and I cheated. But in a telephone survey where they presumably have no reason to lie, they're asking you, hey, listen, did you cast a legitimate vote? Did you vote in the state you're supposed to vote in? Oh, no, I decided to vote in the state I used to live in, or in another state because I thought it was going to be really close over there. I wanted my vote to count in that election. Or, you know what, I've got some relatives, they just weren't in town at the time, so I filled out their ballot. So think of this. We have been fed the propaganda that this is the most secure election in U.S. history, 2020. Now, that was on the face of it always absurd. And I noticed that after 2,000 Mules, people don't really say that anymore. This is how the left is. They don't admit they were wrong. They don't say, yeah, that was a lie. They just kind of quietly, it's like stealth editing for a newspaper where they go back and change their story to pretend like it always was like. They don't have an apology. They don't have a correction. They just go back and modify the text. And so I think that this Rasmussen survey, very significant, adds to our body of knowledge about the 2020 election and continues to put in the grave the idea that this was the most secure election in history. It manifestly was not. It could arguably the least secure election in U.S. history.